Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new then welcome. My name's Kristina, and on my channel we talk all things beauty from my own experiences, so make sure before you go to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave any comments that you have for me down below. I am back with my best of beauty for 2023. I am going to be doing my lip beauty favorites for 2023 separately, so I'm not going to be talking about any lip products in this specific video. I'm also planning on doing my best of skincare for 2023 so I can really dive into those products for you guys, because skincare seems to be something that you guys have been really interested in talking about with me. So I'm going to do a separate video on that, so stay tuned for that one in the near future. This is definitely going to be a very long video, so grab a snack, grab a drink, do what you need, and get cozy. A lot of these products actually released in 2023, but I definitely have some older releases sprinkled in here, and I want to touch on those as well because you guys did mention when I did a little poll that you want to see all the products that I've been loving throughout the year, even if they didn't release this past year. Starting off with skin prep, I have been absolutely in love with this primer from Cali, right? It's the So Blown Clean Blurring Primer. It's a plumping, hydrating, pore erasing, oil controlling makeup replacer, but you can also use it as a primer underneath your foundation and concealer and all of that. I really enjoy the texture of this. I love that it kind of has more of a velvety feel to it. It's kind of like a silicone primer without that really thick silicone feel to it. It absorbs into the skin really nicely, and it helps to just airbrush my pores and just airbrush my skin in general. I initially bought my first bottle of this using it as skincare, but I found that this past year I enjoy a lot more as a makeup primer. This is the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Niacinamide Dewdrops. This adds hydration to the skin, and it gives you that glass-like dewy skin look, and it really shines through even underneath your makeup. And on top of looking really dewy and hydrating, it also gives you a very slick canvas so that your concealer, your color corrector, your foundation just kind of glides on top of your skin. You can use this kind of the same way that you would use like a moisturizer to prep the skin for makeup. I feel like it gives me just the most beautiful hydrated base to start with. So if you love the look of very dewy skin, especially when it comes to your makeup looking very dewy and natural, this primer will definitely give you that. The next skin prep product I actually left in my bathroom, so I'll stick a little picture right here, but it is the Ulla Henriksen Banana Bright Eye Cream. This eye cream is so brightening under the eyes, but not only does it make your under eyes look like they're glowing, but it adds a layer of hydration under your eyes that helps your concealers lay really well, and it's so much easier to blend concealer, especially if you tend to go for more matte concealers. I think that this would help just blend it in and let your concealer dry down so it doesn't look cakey, it doesn't look really like dry, I guess. And I feel like this helps especially if you have creasy under eyes, because it sort of adds hydration and plumps those under eye lines so that you can put concealer on top of it and set it down with a powder if you typically do. I just find that it makes the under eyes just look so much more healthy. And I also feel like as a skincare product, this one actually does over time make my under eyes just look so much more bright. Jumping into foundations now, I definitely have a handful here, and we're starting with the one that I'm wearing on my face currently. It is the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation. This foundation has been such a game changer for me this year. The finish of this is seriously like natural skin-like finish. It doesn't add any extra hydration. It doesn't add any mattifying look to the skin. It truly looks like my skin after I do my skincare, and I love it for that reason. I feel like it does slightly dry down on the skin, but I still tend to set down my foundation. I do set down all of my foundations with powder, so that's going to be a common theme with all of my foundations, as you will see. But this shade match is absolutely beautiful. It actually matches me all throughout the year. Of course, it's going to be a little bit lighter in the summertime and a little bit darker in the winter time, but overall I feel like this is a foundation that I can take through all 4 seasons with me, and it'll do do well. I can kind of adjust it with more bronzer, less bronzer, lighter concealer, darker concealer, but it also kind of just like airbrushes my pores. It stays all day. Like seriously, this is one of the longest lasting foundations. This is my go-to when I'm filming. It's my go-to when I have somewhere to be. Maybe if I know that I'm going to be outdoors and my face is going to produce more oils, but I want my makeup to last, this is one of the foundations that I will reach for. Or just in general, if I just want my skin to look incredible, this is the foundation that I can always rely on. This was a favorite throughout the beginning of the year, I want to say. It's the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Foundation. This was my go-to foundation, I feel like, the beginning of the year, springtime, and even through summer. So this one does have more of a natural dewy finish to it, but it doesn't look greasy on the skin. I definitely still like to set it. I know that if you're super oily, some people have said that it's just way too dewy for them, but for me, I still think that this looks incredible. It sets down and it wears the way that I would like a foundation to wear. I like how thin this feels while giving your skin like a medium to full buildable coverage, but it does give you that lightweight feel on the skin. It's really incredible. I know that people are afraid of this because it looks like it has little like streaks of shimmer to it, but honestly, I don't find that it translates as glitter or metallic or anything like that on the skin. It kind of just adds to the dewy look of the skin. Next, we have the Hourglass Ambient Soft Glow Foundation. This is definitely going to be the more matte foundation of the bunch that I'm picking. While being matte, it almost gives you this velvety airbrush finish, so it doesn't look like a dry foundation on the skin. Your skin just looks super smooth. I can wear this for an entire day and it looks like I just freshly applied it. Sometimes I will go in with a blotting sheet or I'll go in with like powder, you know, to like blot my face down, but rarely do I have to do that with this foundation if I start off with a really nice like set down face with powder. It is quite pricey, but I feel like that I use this enough to like justify that price point. It again is one of my go-to for events, my go-to for filming, or again, if I just want my skin to look incredible, I will go for this foundation. I am not like a matte foundation type of girl, but this one kind of changed my mind. I was kind of like, okay, maybe I do like something a little bit more matte to begin with. The reason I put this in the foundation category is because I wear it as a foundation. So this one is the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer, and I wear this to spot conceal my face, but when I say spot conceal, I basically mean that I use this as a foundation. Like I'll use it all over my face, blend it out all over my face, and that will be my foundation slash concealer for the day. I was like kind of on the fence when I first purchased it. I wasn't sure how I would feel about it. First of all, I don't use the brush on this. I find that it's a little bit like hard and a little spiky on the face, a little bit rough, so I don't use that part, and I also feel like it's too short and dense to really blend it out the way that I want it to. So I go in with a different brush, but the actual product is seriously the best. So this one I would say pretty much dries down on its own. I still do set under my eyes and sometimes I'll set my face, but I definitely have worn this without setting the face and it still wears really beautiful. I would say it's pretty self-setting. This color match is very nice and I love the coverage. I would say that this one is the closest to full coverage that I will wear on a regular basis. It covers my hyperpigmentation, it covers my under eye circles. If you don't want to fuss with a foundation and a concealer and a color corrector, this one does all those things. From the moment that I used it, I was like, this is good. This is really nice. And I haven't been able to put it down since. Next up is a drugstore favorite. This is the Maybelline Super Stay Skin Tint. So this one again kind of looks like it has some of that pearlescent finish in the bottle, just like the Makeup by Mario one. But again, it doesn't translate on the skin as glittery or metallic. It really just gives you such a beautiful dewy finish to the skin. It's a soft blurring finish and it feels slightly velvet when you apply it to the skin. but it still feels super, super lightweight like you expect from a skin tint. I'll just apply all over my face with my fingertips, and then I'll further finish buffing it out with a brush. I would say it's just on the higher level of medium coverage, you know? I love the way that this feels. I love how effortless it is to apply and to blend out on the skin. If you want something that's gonna make your complexion look incredible and really last throughout the day, then I would highly, highly recommend you check this one out. The next foundation, I don't have the bottle because I did end up finishing it this year, and I do plan to repurchase once I go through a couple of my other foundations, but it's the L'Oreal Hyaluronic Serum Skin Tint. It's probably the first like serum foundation or serum skin tint that I tried out and I absolutely fell in love with. So unlike the Maybelline one, this one does have a natural dewy finish. I would say that I definitely have to set this one down with powder, especially where I get more oily, like on my cheeks and on my forehead, you know? I don't like the applicator. It does come with the dropper applicator. It gets so messy though, but I did end up putting it in kind of like this compact, like the sponge compact applicator, and that worked like a dream. I think I would do that going forward with this product, but it truly is so easy to use. It was my go-to throughout like the spring and summer and fall until I finished it. It feels lightweight, but it gives you amazing coverage, and it looked good on camera as well as in person every single time I wore it, so I definitely recommend it. The last foundation is the newest one that I found that I have fell in love with. It's the Ciel Tint and Protect SPF 50 tinted serum. Currently it is a little bit dark for me, so again, once I get a little bit more color, I'll be able to wear this more frequently. But this, I would say, is a more elevated version of the Maybelline and L'Oreal one. I love that this has an SPF 50 of mineral sunscreen. Typically mineral sunscreen is just so finicky. It typically feels very, very, I don't know how to explain it, like really thick, kind of like a thicker cream. But this is super runny in the best way possible, and this also has that dropper applicator, but it is the best dropper applicator I have found with this. It doesn't make the bottle super goopy and messy. Like, it fits perfectly, and it actually deposits the product really evenly and easily. It doesn't get really goopy in there. And the product, it is the thinnest, lightest weight serum foundation I think I've ever tried, and it gives me incredible coverage. I would say that this is a pretty true medium coverage. I think that you could wear this light to medium coverage. You can really just build it up. I've worn it both ways though. Like, I've worn it just like blended into the skin with my fingertips. I have used a brush to really get the most out of this coverage, or you can use it just to even out your skin tone. And again, you're getting that SPF protection. I do still wear a sunscreen underneath this, but I love the fact that it's a mineral, because mineral sunscreens are not irritating to the skin. Like, if you have sensitive skin and you're acne prone or something, typically mineral sunscreens will work a lot better for you. So I just love that there's an option for a mineral sunscreen, the serum foundation now. It is definitely more on the pricey point, but honestly, I would definitely repurchase this just because of how lightweight this feels, how easy and blendable it is, and knowing that I can use this as like sun protection as well. Now we're jumping into concealer favorites, and this year was a big year for concealers, I have to say. So a lot of these did release in 2023, but I do have some staples that I would like to talk about. The first one being my Kosas Revealer Concealer. You guys know that this has been a favorite concealer ever since I started using it. I don't remember when I started using it. It could have been 2022. It could have been 2021. I don't know at this point. I've gone through bottles and bottles of this concealer, and that is not a normal occurrence for me. So that in itself says a lot. I love the tones of these. I have this in the shade 6.0 and 6.2N. I can use this as a spot concealer. I can use it in place of a foundation. It's brightening, it's hydrating. I definitely have to set it down whenever I wear it under my eyes, and sometimes like I'll set it down on my face if I'm spot concealing. But this is definitely one of the concealers that I first tried that gave me that very skin-like hydrating finish and look to the skin. I never find that it's blotchy, and it does doesn't have the longest wear of all of the concealers that are in this category this year for me, but it still has a good amount of wear. And if you're looking for a very good everyday type of concealer that's like no fuss, I would highly recommend this one. I just find that it wears incredibly well on the skin and it looks great on everybody that I've recommended it to. Now on the other spectrum of concealers, we have the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Concealer. I don't know if that's the name of it, but I'm guessing it is because, you know, it's part of their complexion line. I have this in the shade 31 Medium Neutral. I've worn this so consistently since I purchased it. So it has this really fat doe foot applicator, which is really nice when you're using it to like pinpoint it in areas and you want to get like bigger areas of the face covered. I love the undertone to it. It is like a true neutral shade for me, so it just like kind of melts into the skin. I almost want to say it's a full coverage, like on the lighter side of full coverage. It does have a little bit more of a dry moussey texture to it, so in saying that, this one is almost like a self-setting concealer for me, which is kind of insane because every single concealer I definitely have to powder a lot under the eyes, but this one I can go with just a light dusting, or I can powder it, or I can go without it if I do wear a little bit, like a very thin layer of this, and I get minimal creasing, if any at all. I was in disbelief the first time that I wore this and I did like a wear test and found that I had like no creasing under the eyes, and that was like me falling in love with it. It covers all of my hyperpigmentation beautifully, and it's such an easy concealer to blend out, so truly one of the best ones I've tried this year. If I had to pick one concealer as my absolute favorite launch of 2023, it would be this one. This is the Kulfi Main Match Concealer in the shade Mango Drop. This is the most incredible concealer that I have used in a very, very, very long time. Just like the Haus Labs one, this one does tend to dry down on the skin, but what makes it so beautiful to me is that it applies on the skin super hydrating. Like, it looks like the Kosas concealer when it's first applied, but it dries down and stays in place like the Haus Labs one. It's kind of insane. The finish of it, I would say, is more of a natural finish, so you do have a little bit of that dew to it. It just looks like, again, healthy skin. As you guys can see, there's definitely a theme here. I love my skin to just look healthy and dewy, you know? This is the perfect shade for me to be slightly brightening but still match the face really well, so I can use it as a spot concealer, but I can also use it under my eyes to just completely eliminate my under eye circles. And again, this one I would say is a medium to full coverage concealer. I can wear it as medium coverage, but I can build it up as full, and it looks incredible either way. And it performs really well as both medium and full coverage. I don't find that the more I use, the like worse it looks. It just looks so good on the skin. I can't rave about this enough. It truly is just incredible, and I recommend everyone try this one out if you haven't already. And they have a lot of products that are catered towards those with more brown in their skin tone. So this has just been heaven sent. I reach for this so often. I'm kind of surprised that I'm not already out of this. Last concealer I have to talk about is actually one that I kind of forgot about once I got like that big haul of concealers whenever they all released like in the fall time, you know, but I definitely had to include it because this was like the reigning champion at the beginning of the year. This is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer in the shade Cookie Dough. This is my perfect brightening shade without looking stark white under the eyes. I feel like this formulation is going to be a favorite for years and years to come for a lot of people. It is a very thin concealer when you first apply it, but it dries down pretty quickly, and it dries down almost like a matte finish, so it looks incredible if you want it to cover up imperfections, if you need it for your under eyes. I really like to do a very thin layer of this on top of any concealer under my eyes to just brighten a little bit. This does have a really, really good dry down, but for me, I would still powder this down because throughout the day, if I'm wearing this for long periods of time, it can sort of sink into my creases under my eyes, but it's really not horrible. So I I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for something that is just going to be foolproof. I would say that this is more on the full coverage side of things. I also use this to like sculpt out my cheeks, use it to brighten under my eyes, and like brighten on the center of my face. It really is so versatile, and I really love this one as well. And the one color corrector I want to mention is this one. This is the Bobbi Brown color corrector in the shade Peach. Mine is completely destroyed because I use this almost every time I do a full face of makeup. I like to apply this on my hyperpigmentation and my acne scars whenever I'm going to use concealer, like underneath my concealer. I love the consistency of it because it is a little bit more of a drier cream. So in saying that, it is a little bit more grippy on this skin. So it stays in place and stays on those spots that I want them to be, even after blending out my concealer and blending out my foundation. Sometimes with some concealers or some foundations, my acne scarring I can still see through if I don't use this. So this has definitely been a favorite. And this year I definitely delved into the world of color correctors because I did have a lot of issues with acne this year. And with those issues, I did start getting tons and tons of acne scarring. So I definitely had to find a color corrector that would kind of mask that whenever I had to wear like a full face of makeup. Now getting into setting spray and setting powders. Of course, you guys will not be surprised if you watch me. The One Size Until Dawn setting spray is my go-to holy grail setting spray. This is the most incredible setting spray I've ever used. I think that even if you're not a setting spray kind of person, this might change your mind. I've used setting sprays for years, but I have never seen such a difference in the longevity of my makeup until I started using this one. Like, I'm talking 12 plus hours. I'm talking I've fallen asleep with my makeup on, and in the morning it still looks pretty decent. I'm not gonna say perfect, but like still good. Like I could probably get away with wearing it again, but I don't do that. And the product is more similar to a hairspray than a regular traditional setting spray. And I love that because I do have more oily combination skin. I need something that's going to set down my face without adding more hydration because I don't need that extra hydration. You know what I mean? Exactly how you have your face of makeup done is going to be how it sets down. I think that this year was a big year for me when it comes to setting powders. I have found some of the best setting powders that I have ever used. So this is the Huda Beauty loose baking setting powder. This is the perfect tone for me. Actually, I think the last week though, I have found that maybe it's a little bit dark right now. But other than that, for the majority of the year, this was my go-to powder for setting my face, for dusting it all over the face. It's perfect for that. But truly where it shines is if you're going to do like a bake on your face. So I was like baking under my eyes a lot this year, and I was sculpting my cheeks out a lot, and this did that flawlessly for me. It's super finely milled, and the shade of this yellow is perfect because it's not too deep yellow to where it leaves like a bad dark cast on my face. It really is a nice brightening type of banana shade. It's easy to buff out. It doesn't look heavy. It doesn't make your face look super dry and creasy or anything. I really love this powder. And if you're looking for something that will like start off really matte, I think that this would be really nice because as the day goes on, my oils can still kind of come through to where they look natural and not where I look greasy. So if I wear just a light dusting of this, that tends to happen. But if I super bake down my face, I have like virtually no oils peeking through until maybe like hour 6 or 7 of wearing makeup. And even then, sometimes I don't even feel the need to like powder down my face or blot the oils off of my face. This powder by far has been, I would say, my absolute game-changing powder of the year. This is the Oma Trip and Smooth powder, and this was actually recommended by you guys, and I picked it up and it is incredible. Like, I have never gotten so many compliments on how airbrushed and smooth my skin has looked until I started using this powder. I'm not a a huge fan of the unit, like the packaging. I get what they were going for. You're supposed to be able to just like twist the bottom and then the powder is supposed to come in the center, but it's very loose and the powder tends to go on the inside anyways, like in the center, but it still works. It's not incredibly messy, you know, but this powder is seriously the smoothest, most micro, finely milled powder. It feels like silk between the fingers and it airbrushes your skin like no other. It mattifies it without looking dry and cakey. It kind of like smooths out your pores by itself. It sets down my under eyes so perfectly. I don't get creasing. A lot of the reason why I wanted a new powder was because around my under eyes, I was seeing a lot of like texture, like little bumpies and stuff. This smooths over it completely. Like I can't even describe the change this has made in my makeup, you know? Like I just feel like my makeup has looked 10 times better since using this powder. But yes, definitely loved this so much this year, and I think I'm going to continue loving it for years to come. Now we're jumping into bronzers and blushes, and honestly this is a huge category, so I'm gonna try to like speed through it as much as I can, and if you have any additional questions or want more information on them, let me know in the comments down below. But we're actually going to start with powder bronzers, and the first one I want to talk about is this one. This is the Benefit Hoola Caramel shade, and the caramel one in particularly has been the biggest game changer for my bronzer this year. So it does have a little bit more of a yellowy, orangey undertone, I want to say, than just the original Hoola bronzer. It looks incredibly natural without looking muddy on the face. I love the way that this feels buttery on the skin. It blends out so seamlessly. I have not loved a bronzer more than this one in, I want to say, years. My biggest gripe with this though is that the packaging sucks. Like I hate that it's in this box format, because if I want to go in with a super big fluffy brush, I kind of have to like spin the brush in there versus like swirling it, and that just like irks me because I feel like I don't have full control of how much powder I put on my brush. But I wish they would come out with this in a more like typical packaging, you know, but it's not bad enough to make me want to stop using it because the actual product itself is just so good. The other bronzers I'm talking about are going to be cream bronzers, and I am a huge fan of cream products. As an oily combination girl, maybe that's not the best way to approach makeup, but I find that for me, I love a good cream blush and bronzer, and then if I set it down with powder, it just looks so natural. The first cream bronzer is this one. It's the Charlotte Tilbury cream bronzer. This is in the shade 2 medium. It is a giant compact. This is what it looks like. It's just, I can't get over how large this compact is. It's definitely a darker cream bronzer, so I think that if you're lighter than me and you tend to go for more medium tone bronzers, you're definitely going to have to blend this out a lot. But for me, it gives me the perfect amount of bronze. It is a little bit of a drier consistency when we're talking cream products, but that's actually kind of nice because I find that it grips onto the skin really nicely and it stays in place. But that doesn't go without saying that it still blends out really, really nicely. I don't find that this is ever splotchy. I love that I can concentrate this on specific areas and then really blend it out without losing any of that pigmentation. It definitely has a very high price point, so if you can get this on sale, I would recommend it. But even if you can't, you just get so much product that I feel like it would be worth it because this is going to last for a very long time. Next, I do have more of a contouring cream product, and it's the Tower 28 Sculptino in the shade Getty. It's not so cool that it looks gray on the skin. It definitely is a contour shade, but for my medium skin tone, this one gives me just the right amount of gray to where it hollows my cheeks naturally. I hope that makes sense to you guys. It still looks like it could pass as a bronzer, but when used as a contour, it's perfect. It's perfection. If you've never used this formulation, it's just the same as their blushes, the Beach Please blushes, you know, it's that same consistency. It is slightly, I will say, slightly more greasy than like the Charlotte Tilbury one, but they do set down really beautifully. And if you have like dry to normal skin, I feel like this is going to give you the most beautiful hydration to the skin. And one of my favorite things about the Tower 28 cream products is that you can also use them on top of powders and it doesn't give you any splotchiness at all. I've barely made a dent in this because it is very pigmented when you apply to the skin, but you can blend it out with like no effort whatsoever. I think that this is great if you're looking into using a contour for the very first time, especially a cream contour. It's definitely not as intimidating as some contours that are on the market right now, and it works so well on top of all my foundations and concealers, and it works beautifully and flawlessly with all of my powders. Next is the Milk Makeup Contour Stick. This one I think was a little bit controversial when it first came out, but you do get the same amount of product that you do with like this one. I'm pretty sure you get more product in this than you do in the Tower 28 one. This is a beautiful contour. It's definitely gonna be a stronger, darker gray tone than the Tower 28 one, but in saying that, I get such a sharp sculpt when I use this as a contour. It's still a really beautiful shade to where it doesn't make me look dead and gray, you know, on the skin. But the way that this applies, it's super ultra pigmented and it blends out really easily. You can concentrate this exactly where you want it because of this stick form. It powders down nicely and you can still see it underneath your powder. Oh, and I love to use this as my contour, like for my nose, if I decide to do that. It's perfect and it doesn't make my nose look muddy. And two more stick bronzers. I have the Persona Multi Sticks in the shade Dune and Sahara. You guys know I talk about these endlessly, like I truly do. So I'm not gonna like go on and on about them, but this is Dune, this is Sahara. This works the best on me when I'm a little bit light, and this one works when I'm dark, but they both work for me any time of the season. It's just one works better than the other, you know? I love the consistency of these. They're not greasy. They're not like tugging on the skin when you use them. Super, super pigmented. They blend out really, really easily, and also they set down really well with powder, and you can use them on top of powder. They're just the most multi-use cream products that I have used, and I'm obsessed with them. I truly, truly, truly think that these are some of the best cream sticks that are on the market. Going into blushes, all of my favorites for the year are cream and liquid blushes, and we're starting off with the Rare Beauty Soft Pinch Liquid Blush in the shade Virtue. It is a new shade that they came out with. This is kind of like a soft, peachy shade, and on the skin, it just brightens my skin and looks super natural, like a natural flush on my skin. I love a blush that kind of just enhances the natural tone of my skin. I think because the shade is a little bit lighter than other shades in their line, it's a lot easier to blend. It doesn't seem to, you know, skip or look splotchy or anything like that. It has a really good blending time before it completely dries down. I find that the Rare Beauty liquid blushes stay all day on the face, and I've been reaching for this shade so much because it goes with every makeup look. Next is the Say liquid blush in the shade Rosy. This is the Dew blush, and this one is going to be more of a creamy, moussey consistency. Like, it's not going to be runny like the Rare Beauty one, but it definitely has that same amount of pigmentation, and it does give you a little bit of dewiness to it, but I would say that this still has really good lasting power on the face. I want to say that this pink shade is the lightest I would go on a pink shade and still like it. Like, this is definitely something that brightens up my face and gives me a little flush of pink, but it still looks really nice and natural on my skin tone. I think this formulation lasts a really long time on the cheeks, and I traveled a lot with this year, so I definitely had to mention it. Again, another Persona multi-stick, and this is in the shade Teddy. It almost looks like that bronzer, you know, like the same tone, but this does have more of a pinky tone tone to it, so it works beautifully as a super, super natural looking blush. The tone of this blends almost seamlessly with my bronzer, so it's like a natural from like brown to pinky tone sort of look whenever I wear this. Same consistency, really, really pigmented, blends out effortlessly, and I can also layer this on top of powder if I find that I lose some of that intensity whenever I powder my face down. A new find for me in 2023, but I don't think that they released in 2023, are the Rose Ink Cream Blushes. These two shades in particular, I was absolutely in love with. These two separately and together, chef's kiss, honestly. I loved using these to make like an ombre look, so I was using this like sort of on the center and apples of my cheeks, and then I was taking Azalea and using it more on the temples and creating sort of an ombre look. I love, love, love how blendable these are. They're more of a drier consistency when it comes to cream blushes. They don't feel greasy or anything on the skin, but what I love most about these is how buildable they are. I never felt like I was going overboard with these. I could just build and build and build, and it would still give me the same beautiful flush of color. They truly are such unique cream products in my opinion. They do have a good lasting power. I wouldn't say that they're the longest lasting, but I find that they last a little bit longer than like the Tower 28 ones because of that like drier, creamy consistency. Speaking of Tower 28, I still absolutely am obsessed with the Beach Please cream products. So two shades in particular. This first one is completely beat up. I could definitely wipe this down a little bit, but this is the shade Magic Hour. It's the most universal pinky, slightly peachy shade on my skin tone. Again, I find that it gives me such a natural flush to the skin. And then I have the shade Office Hours, which is more of a mauve tone. I have it on today. It definitely adds a lot of color to the face. If you want to kind of explore berry tones, but you find that they're just a little bit too bold for what you like, try a mauve tone like this one, and it'll give you that perfect in between of pinky berry, you know? And I also have used this like swiped on the lips, and it does look a little bit lighter on my lips than it does on my cheeks for some reason, but it still looks really nice, especially if I use a darker lip liner with it. And lastly, for my cheek favorites, the Merit Flush Balm in the shade Fox. And this is by far my favorite Flush Balm shade that Merit has to offer because it is a little bit more of that rosy terracotta like shade, and on the skin it translates like a beautiful like flush of terracotta without being too aggressive, not being too much, you know? It is going to be more on the hydration / greasy side of things, so I would recommend that you powder this down. This is beautiful though, even on top of just like skincare. If you want a flush of color, this again, Flush Balm, it's perfect. It gives you such a natural look on the skin. I think that it builds really nicely, but it still stays in that medium coverage when it comes to color. Now we're jumping into eye products and starting off with some eyeshadows. I don't want to go too much into detail about this, but this is the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette, and I've talked about this in recommendation videos, my Sephora recommendations. I've talked about it in favorites. I've used it in videos time and time again. It is the most universal matte palette that I have ever used. It's probably my most worn eyeshadow palette that I've used this year and last year. Well, I guess I should say 2023 and 2022. I've used every single shade of this palette, and every single shade works. I found out recently that this is based off of skin tones, and it makes so much sense because the undertones of these just work so incredibly well. They have strong pigmentation. They never look splotchy or blotchy or anything like that. It truly is like the go-to staple eyeshadow palette of the year for me, hands down. Following very closely to that Makeup by Mario one is this one. It's the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 3 palette, and this one also is a fully matte palette with some creams right here, which actually I've never even touched. I had to include this even though it is quite a recent purchase when we think of the entire year. It is buttery, it is smooth, it is pigmented, it blends like a dream. Like the easiest mattes to blend that I think I've ever used. Like this formulation is incredible. They feel like creams when you put them on, but they blend out effortlessly like a powder, you know. I love that we get some cool tones here and we get some warm tones here. Today I did use this palette in conjunction with another eyeshadow topper that I'm going to talk about. This palette has kind of made me reimagine matte shades, you know. Like I feel like you can get so creative even though these are just matte shades. I reach for these all the time. I feel like there's plenty of crease shades in here and plenty of shades that I can use to like deepen up my eyes. And it's just lovely. I love it so much. It's definitely a go-to for me. What I used on my eyelids today to give me that sparkle, it's gonna come as no surprise to you guys, but it is the Hourglass Scattered Lights in the shade Ray. I have talked about this endlessly again. This is my perfect wet eye look shade. You know how Space Cowboy was like viral, or still is viral, for giving you that wet eyeshadow look? That one definitely looks like glitter on me because of the undertone of it. It still is a little bit light for my skin tone, but this gives me the look that Space Cowboy gives other people that are lighter than my skin tone. Like it gives you the perfect wet eyeshadow look, and I love that you can wear it that way where it's more sheer, but you can also really concentrate it to where it looks like a very strong glitter. I love to use this as a topper because you can still see the eyeshadow that you place underneath it, but I also like wearing this alone because it does have that base color, like that champagne base color to it, to where you can wear it just alone and it looks like an entire one and done full eyeshadow look. It's so versatile and I constantly am reaching for this. The only eyeliners that I need to talk about are these. They're the Makeup by Mario eyeliners, specifically the Perfect Brown shade. I've used up so much of this, so this is like what it looks like when you first get it, and this is what it looks like now. I am the type of person that strayed away from pencil eyeliners on top of my lids for pretty much for my entire life because I do have smaller eyelids and it does tend to crease. I do get transfer and stuff like that with typical eyeliners, but this one stays in place. I love the brush on the other end because it's actually really usable. That's the only thing I ever use to like blend out my wings whenever I use this. I can easily blend this out with the brush so quickly before it sets down, and once it sets down, it lasts all day. I have no issues with transfer, and it's also the only eyeliner that I trust in my tight line, like under my eyes, because it actually stays in place. It doesn't transfer on my bottom lash line. It doesn't smudge or anything like that. Super dark and pigmented. The black one is incredible to tight line and use as a wing as well, and I love this soft brown shade when I'm not wearing any eyeshadow and I want a little bit of a wing, you know. This is beautiful for that. I just love these. Surprisingly, for mascara, I have a ton of them, but I'm just gonna breeze right through them. I feel like I talk about them time and time again, and when I like a mascara, I will stick with it for weeks and weeks, or months and months really. This one I have used for years. This is the Maybelline Full and Soft Waterproof. I treat this as a mascara primer, so I use this after I curl my lashes. I use this in my lashes and it keeps my curl up. I have to use this with waterproof mascaras that are not Asian mascaras in order to keep my curls. It gives me definition and it gives me length, and it doesn't compete with any other mascaras. And some mascaras that I like to use in conjunction with those that have been favorites this year: Maybelline Sky High, this again waterproof. I actually really like this rubber bristle brush. I find that it is really easy to get the product into my lashes. This gives me lots of volume and lots of length at the same time. I did notice that it was kind of like smudging a little bit right here, so I started to use this. This is the L'Oreal Telescopic Lift, again waterproof. I think that this is such a good mascara. Again, it is a rubber bristle mascara, but the wand is very interesting because it does have a flat side to it and it has a little bit of a curve, so you can really brush it into your lashes. This gives me such good length, and it gives me a slight amount of volume, but mainly length. I think that it holds the curl really well in conjunction with the Maybelline one, but I also have used it alone and it does hold the curl, but definitely not as good as if I use these two together. It gives you a lot of drama whenever you're wearing eyeshadow, but it also looks really nice without. But my reigning champions of mascaras this year had to be Asian mascaras. It was my first year actually delving in to Asian mascaras, and I'm so glad I did because seriously, they are game changers. So this is the Romand Hanol Fix Mascara. It's a super dark black mascara. With these two, I don't have to use any sort of mascara primer. It stays all day by itself, which was seriously like an eye-opener for me. This does have more of a traditional wand to it, and it disperses the product really nice into the lashes. It's more of a wet consistency, but again, it doesn't hinder like the curl of my lashes, and it lasts all day. No clumping, no flaking, no nothing. But my absolute favorite, I want to say, something that I'm seriously obsessed with, is this Hair and Make Long and Curl Mascara. It's the Advanced Film. It does have a curved bristle brush to it. It is a natural bristle mascara, and it just coats the lashes so well, gives me length, gives me volume, holds my curl, doesn't smudge throughout the day. If you have stubborn Asian lashes that don't hold curl, or if you tend to have a lot of smudging throughout the day, I highly recommend Asian mascaras, specifically this one, because it has changed my mind about all mascaras out there. Like, I have been refusing to use any other mascara this year since I started using this, I think in like August. So you guys know I don't like to fuss with my brows, but this year I went on a brow journey and I feel like I have found a really good brow routine that I'm actually very happy with. The first product I want to talk about, I've talked about previously in so many other videos, but it is this Benefit Fluff Up Brow Wax. It's not going to be a gel, so it's not going to set the brows in place all day, but it is a liquid wax that helps to fluff up and kind of like thicken your brows and prep it for your brow pencil or your brow pomade, whatever you use to fill in your brows. And then I go in with a separate gel. I really love the way that I can kind of manipulate my brows with this without it getting crunchy or anything, because again, it is more of a wax consistency, so it's not going to look heavy in the brows. I have gone through, I think, 2 tubes of this so far. I think that it gives you the perfect like amount of volume and featheriness to the brows. As far as filling in the brows, I have quickly become obsessed with this. I was kind of in a rut when it came to brow pencils for a little while throughout 2023, but once I found this, I was like, holy crap, this is the most amazing brow pencil I have used. I have like 5 backups of this now. This is the Kosas Brow Pop Nano in the shade Black Brown, and it is the skinniest brow pencil I've ever used. It does have a spoolie on one side and then it has the pencil on the other. It's the perfect color to match my natural brow hairs, so you can't tell that I'm wearing like brow pencil, you know? The strokes are so fine that it fits between my brow hairs, and I do have pretty thick brows and I have a lot of brow hairs, so finding a very micro tip brow pencil has been a game changer because it just fills in my brows so much more clean. But it really is a strong pigment. It's not like super creamy, not super waxy. It is the perfect consistency. It deposits the perfect amount of pigmentation, and I just love it so much. I don't like spending a lot of money on brow pencils because I just go through them so quickly, but I would for this one. And lastly, for the brows, we have the Rare Beauty Flexible Brow Gel. It is the first brow gel that I have used that holds my brows in place all day and doesn't get crunchy or flaky. What's going on with my brows right now is going to stay like this throughout the entire day. It's incredible. It feels nice and fluffy. I like to use this all over my brows to kind of like mold them and set them in place. And then I'll go in with that eyebrow pencil and then my brows are done. Sometimes I'll go in with more, like right now, I can go in with more and they won't get crunchy and flaky. I still have a little bit of movement with my brow hairs and I can still manipulate them without them getting crunchy. But seriously, I have never found a brow product that keeps my brows in place the same way that this does. The closest thing I would say is soap brows, but having it in like a little tube like this is it's so convenient and it's just the best and I love it. I highly recommend it, especially if you have brow hairs that tend to like droop throughout the day. I don't typically add makeup tools to this list, I don't think. I was reevaluating it and I was thinking the tools that I use this year, I feel like made such a big difference in my makeup application. And also they just like make or break the way that some makeup looks on you. So I thought I would include it. The first one I have is this Makeup by Mario F4 brush. It's this dual-ended brush. I am a sucker for like duo brushes like this, and this one in particular is so nice. I think that it has incredible density on both sides. They are kind of like these paw brushes, so they do have a little bit of an angle and a taper to them. This side is perfect for concealer, for cream bronzer, for cream blush, and this fatter side is perfection for foundations. It's like my go-to. It's so versatile. I like to use it with liquids and creams. I haven't used it with powder, I don't think, but I'm sure it would work really nicely. When I first purchased this though, it did have like some wiggle to the handle, like one of them was loose, and I actually like yanked it off and used some super glue and I stuck it back on there and it's been fine ever since. It doesn't shed whenever I wash it. The quality is amazing other than like that wiggliness to it, and it just applies all of my makeup flawlessly. Next, the BK Beauty A506. This is the Angie Hot and Flashy collection, and I have been loving this, I think, for well over 2 years now. It's again a paw brush, and this is the most perfect concealer brush I've ever used. It is a little bit bigger, but it does have the angle. It's slightly dense and it completely like blends out your concealer perfectly. It has just the right amount of density to really control where that concealer is going. I've also used this for powder to powder down my under eyes. It's amazing. You can really get into those crevices. BK Beauty brushes are just the most beautiful, high quality brushes that I have used for the last couple of years. I am truly obsessed with them. Next, I have triangle puffs. So just triangle puffs in general. This is like a pack that I bought from Amazon. These are really nice, again, to sculpt out like the cheeks, to really get my powder up in there whenever I'm baking, or not even baking, just like powdering my face. It's nice to just get right here in between the brows. It's the most versatile setting tool that I've used for powders. In the same vein as the triangle puff, the Beauty Blender Pocket Puff. I don't know where mine is. I might have washed it. It might be in my bathroom, but that one again is perfect for setting down powder. It holds a lot more powder than the triangle puff because it is thicker, but I love to use that to set, to bake, and to sculpt out the face. Another Beauty Blender product, this is the Liner Designer Pro. It's just the silicone triangle. It kind of looks like a guitar pick, honestly, but I was loving this to really like sculpt out my eyeliner right here. You just place it exactly where you want it, and you can use it as a guide. You can also use it as like a mascara shield when you're applying your mascara, and mainly I use this to do like smoky eyes and stuff. You can wash it, you can reuse it. There are different sides of this, and it's just an incredible little tool. It's very inexpensive. I love it, especially to get a really smoky eye. Again, I've used this years and years, but this is the Shiseido eyelash curler. It's my only curler that I use perfect for my eye shape. It gives me the perfect like natural curl to the eyes, and my curl lasts all day, and this quality is just incredible. I got the gold one during the holidays, I think in 2022, but I mean the silver one is the same exact thing. All right, lastly for this video, I wanted to touch really quickly on hair products. I don't have a ton, but you guys do ask me a lot what I use in my hair, so I wanted to just touch on the products that really stood out to me this year, starting with the Amika Soul Food Nourishing Mask. This is the most nourishing hair mask that I think I have ever used in my hair without it like weighing it down. It smells incredible. You need such a small amount of this. I can easily just take like a small dollop of this and run it through my hair in the shower, brush it out with my wet brush, and my hair is nourished. Like, it is soft and silky. It helps with frizz. When I had my perm, this really helped to like bring in some nourishment and hydration and keep my hair from looking damaged. I just want to say that Fable and Mane basically ruled my year when it came to hair. First off, the detangling leave-in conditioner. This smells incredible. You need maybe like 3 sprays for your entire head if you have long hair like I do. It helps with frizz. It helps to detangle my hair. It locks in moisture, and I don't know, it just made my hair look so much more sleek, especially when I was going to use heat on it to prep it with this. I think it really helped to kind of like avoid damage in my hair, but also make my hair still look really nice and shiny and sleek. In conjunction with that detangling leave-in spray, I was using the Smooth and Shine hair oil. This was a brand new launch for them, I think in 2023, and it's just a beautiful hair oil. I feel like this is on par with like the Olaplex bonding oil, you know, but I like this one a little bit more because it feels more lightweight on the hair, but it still gives me that same smooth, sleek shine that I really want. I was using this in my damp hair before I would like air dry it or even style it with heat, and it worked really well. And I also used it as my finishing oil. If my hair was ever frizzy, I would use like a drop of that and it would just like refresh my hair. And then for hair wash days, I was using these kind of interchangeably. This is the smoothing serum for the scalp, and then this is the Holly Roots hair oil. It's like a pre-wash oil, and basically what I did, again, I just like used whichever one whenever I felt like it. Maybe once a week I would just like change it up. You just take a full dropper of this, you run it on your scalp right here, and then just massage it in, and it really nourishes the hair. And you can also use this like on the ends of the hair. You just use it as a pre-treatment before you wash your hair. And this one, again, I use like in my scalp. I don't use it on the ends of my hair. Sometimes I would use this in my scalp and then use this from like my ears down. It nourishes your hair, but more than that, it made my scalp so much healthier. I experienced a lot less like flakiness and dandruff with this. I feel like my head wasn't like as itchy, you know, and overall I think that it helps with the growth of my hair, and my hair is just so much healthier. I have been staying away from chemical treatments and stuff this past year, so that definitely played a role in it, but even so, I just feel like my hair has never looked healthier and shinier and smoother, and I think a lot of it has to do with these Fable and Mane products. They are just incredible. And of course I have to talk about my living proof obsession. I'm not gonna go on and on about this. I only have this mini one because I finished up my big bottle. It's the Living Proof Advanced Clean Dry Shampoo. The most lightweight dry shampoo you will ever use. It makes your hair actually feel clean, smells really nice and subtle, and it absorbs all of the oils in my hair. And then whenever I was styling my hair, I was using this Living Proof Dry Volume and Texture Spray. It just helps to kind of enhance like the texture whenever I did a blowout, or if I had like waves in my hair, if I did curls. It acted as a hairspray and a texture spray at the same time, so I didn't have to go in with a bunch of product and make my hair feel crunchy, you know. So really love that one. I have been loving that one for years, and it smells very nice. And you guys may laugh at me for this one, but my next hair favorite is a wet brush. or just a brush in general. I had not been brushing my hair just on a regular basis since before I got my hair permed. So that's been a couple of years now. I'm kind of embarrassed, but at the same time I'm not, because I realize a lot of people don't actually brush their hair like that. But guys, this has like changed my life. It does have those gaps right there, so I don't have like towel and lint residue kind of like building up on the brush. But I love this because I can like brush my hair back and get super sleek bun looks or super sleek ponytails. Like, who would have thought, you know? Not me. Such a weird realization that brushes actually help smooth out your hair, but I've been loving this and it's incredible, and I think everyone needs a brush, specifically a wet brush, because I use a wet brush in my shower to detangle my hair, but I also use it now on my dry hair, so I really love it. Okay guys, that was everything for this video. Oh my goodness, it was such a long video. If you got to this point, let me know in the comments down below and give this video a like. If we have any of the same favorites from 2023, I would love to know in the comments down below if we do, but also let me know what your like top 3 products from the year were, because I'm curious to see if we have any similar favorites. Again, I am going to be coming out with a best of beauty lip products for 2023. And I'm also going to be doing my best of skincare products of 2023, so keep an eye out for those videos. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!